Good evening, you two. I know, 2 in a day. Well, I got a couple days to make up for. Sorry, I'm a little tired. I got up at 5:30 this morning. It's after 8. I ran out my 14-hour clock today, down to 12 minutes, which is not the lowest I've run it before. I think 7 minutes is the lowest I've run it before. And one time I actually violated my 14-hour clock. That's what I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk about electronic logs today because I've been seeing a lot more. And as of December, every truck in the United States of America, every commercial vehicle in the United States of America, has to be running electronic logs. I think it's the 17th, but I'm not 100% certain about that. But I do know before January 1st, every single commercial vehicle in the United States must be running electronic logs. And people hate it. I mean, truck drivers especially hate electronic logs. I can understand that. It can get frustrating getting stuck in a traffic jam. You're going down the interstate and all of a sudden everything just stops. And a half an hour later you realize that there was a wreck on the other side of the road that everybody had to fucking stop and stare at. And you don't really want to log that half hour because you would have run that through that in a minute. But all the fucking rubberneckers had to stop and look and stare and watch the ambulance come and, you know, see if there's anybody dead or, you know. And they just stop and stare. And then they creep along. And it becomes a huge backup because one person stepping on the brakes affects traffic for the next 200 miles. It's the truth. And there's all kinds of stupid shit like that happens. Construction, you know, construction zone speed limit is 55. There's people going 30. Why? I don't know. But if you got a truck riding up on your ass and you're not going the speed limit, use the fucking skinny pedal and step on it. Okay? If semis are passing you, you're probably not going fast enough. Because our speed limits are not as high as yours. Mostly. Some places they are, but there's never a place where the speed limit for trucks is higher than the speed limit for cars. Ever. Okay? I was going down a highway in Mississippi today, and this motherfucker was going 30. Or no, I'm sorry. He started off going 30. Then after I honked my air horn a couple times, he sped up to 50. It was a 55 mile an hour zone. I had a mile-long backup of cars behind me that were honking at me because this asshole ahead of me was going 50 and I couldn't accelerate fast enough to pass him. A fully loaded truck does not accelerate fast. I probably could have passed him. No. I don't think there was a long enough stretch where there was, you know, where I could have passed him and gotten back over. I've tried it before. It hardly ever works. If you're on a 2-lane road, that semi ain't passing. He can't. And if he's going fast enough, and if he does pass you, then you're going way too fucking slow. But that's not what I'm talking about tonight. I want to talk about electronic logs because all truckers hate them because of stupid shit like that slows them down. I've violated my 14-hour rule once. I was at a Kroger distribution center, set for a live unload. I'm pretty sure there's a video from that night, but I'm not sure. Anyways, my clock was out completely. I had 0 hours. I was in negative time when they got done unloading me. And I begged for them to let me, you know, there was a whole row of parking places off to the side, you know, where they stage people at. I begged to be let, you know, I can't drive anymore. I'm in violation of my hours of service. We don't care. Get out. What are you going to do? So I went to the closest on-ramp, and that's where I parked. If a cop had come along, I would have said, hey, what do you want me to do? I'm out of hours. I can't do anything. Obviously, I didn't get bugged on the on-ramp, although I didn't get much sleep either because Louisville, Kentucky is not a quiet town in the middle of the night or early morning or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, and then the next day I called my company. I said, hey, I had to violate my hours of service last night. I'm like, yeah, what was that about? And I'm like, well, Kroger kicked me out and I was out of hours. What am I supposed to do? I had to deliver then. I couldn't deliver late. I had to go over my hours of service to get to a parking place. And they were fine with that, actually. They're like, yeah, if the customer said you had to get off their property, you had to get off their property. There's nothing you could do. I actually thought I was going to be in trouble for that, but they were like, yeah, whatever, okay. So other than that, and today, this morning, I was at a delivery for a Dollar General distribution center, the one where I was complaining about lumpers, if you watch that video. I got there at 6:45 in the morning for a 7 o'clock appointment. I didn't leave there until 10 after 10. Well over 3 hours. Then when I went to pick up my next load that I'm on now, I'm going up to Neenah, Wisconsin. And then from there, I'll be going to Arizona. Yay. Reminds me of something else I wanted to talk about. I picked up my load, there in Corinth, Mississippi, which has got some of the stupidest freaking truck routes. Oh, man. It's not just 2 lanes, it's like residential freaking streets that I had to drive on. Like, 2 trucks could not have gone down that street at the same time, residential. Okay? There was a corner that had a guardrail ripped apart because it was so tight that another driver had, tried to make that corner, and either his tandems were set too far back, or he had too long of a trailer, or he was stupid or something, and he ripped the guardrail apart. I mean, I obviously didn't see it, but you see the guardrail damage, and you know what happened. The fucking truck took it out. Had the guardrail not been busted up, I probably would have kissed it. Yeah, and I had my tandem slid all the way forward. I was in the shortest my truck could get, and I still almost kissed that guardrail. But you can't force the shippers and the receivers to move their buildings, and you can't force the companies, the cities to build wider roads, and you can't force anything. You just got to deal with what you deal with, and that's trucking. But the electronic logs, I know I've been kind of heated about them a little bit so far, but I like them. I actually do. Not including my Kroger violation of the 14-hour rule. And that was the 14-hour rule, not the 11 or the 8. But the 14-hour rule. Not including that, I actually was stopped at a scale house once, a long time ago. This is back when I used to drive, for a logbook violation. They shut me down for 8 hours. Because when I'd pulled into my stop the night before, I'd forgotten to finish off my log for the day. Alright? In the morning, I started off and, went from midnight to, did my 15-minute pre-trip mark. Because pre-trip, it doesn't take 15 minutes, but with the old style paper logs, everything took 15 minutes, or 30, or 45. It was in 15-minute increments. You couldn't change that. So I made my mark for my 15-minute pre-trip, and, took it up to driving, and took off, and didn't even think about, the day before, because I'd obviously finished that. I finished the day, right? They pulled me over to Scale House, told me to bring my log inside. I handed it to him. He looks, that day. I, updated it to, come up, down on duty where I was. And he flips the page back and he says, oh, what happened here? I'm like, oh, shit. It still had the page in it. The old style paper logs, there were actually 2 pages. There was the top page, right, and then you put a piece of carbon paper between them. So when you wrote, you cut it on 2 pages, and you ripped out the top page and sent it into your company so they had a copy of your logs. And then you were also required to keep your logs for, I think, a minimum of 30 days, but I'm not 100% sure how long you had to keep them for anymore. The way it is now, I can, call up any logs I need to if there were a need to do so. But yeah, being forgetful, being tired at night, caused me to be shut down for, it was actually 6 hours. When all the cops left, so did I. What am I going to say? That I spent 8 hours sitting when I didn't need to after I'd just slept? I mean, I wasn't on the road, but maybe half an hour. So yeah. But I'm sure there's a statute of limitations that ran out on that years ago. This has been a minimum of 15 years ago, if not longer. I'm pretty sure it's been 20 years ago. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was Builder's Transport. It was my cab over. Anyway, I'm tired. Babbling a little bit, but then again, you guys are used to that, right? Oh, funny story, right? I'm driving along, and I know I'm running up against my 14-hour clock, right? So I'm not stopping for anything at all, right? If I'd not been running up against my 14-hour clock, I would have stopped when the important message came in. Because there are 3 categories of message. There's a regular message, which shows up as a white envelope on my Qualcomm. Then there's important messages, which show up as a yellow envelope with 2 red exclamation points. And then there are high priority messages, which show up as a red envelope with, I think, 3 white exclamation points, or maybe black. I don't know. I haven't seen a very important message in forever. Okay. The dispatcher, planner sent me one once, but I don't remember what it was. We were discussing whether or not I should have a load that I wanted. Because planners are so important that everything they send you has to be read instantly. And I have been told, if it comes across as a very important message, you have to stop and read it. But it was an important message, and I wasn't stopping to read it. I'm like, fuck it, I will read that when I shut down for the night. Now, you're encouraged, not have to, like the very important message, but you're encouraged to stop as soon as safe, read the very important messages, or the important messages rather. You're encouraged to do it. Not supposed to. Like the very important messages. There's 3 different. So I get here to the rest area where I'm spending the night. 12 minutes left on my 14-hour clock. And I read this important message that has been sent to me that I was, told a couple months ago that you're encouraged to stop and read those as soon as possible. The content of the important message was that the ladies' restroom in the Phoenix terminal will be closed from the 11th to the 13th. Fuck. Why is that important to me? I mean, obviously it's been sent out to every truck in the fleet, but good lord. I've talked to... you talk to Swift drivers from time to time. And more often than not, when I ask, have you been to the Phoenix terminal? If they haven't been with us for a couple of years, they say no. I'm probably not going to go to the Phoenix terminal, despite the fact I'm going to be getting to Arizona. I actually probably will get to the Phoenix terminal because I'm going to let my DM know that I need to go to the shop when I'm there in Arizona because I've got a fairing that's... The fairing that I replaced when I got torn up by that Amazon load with the intermodal trailer. If you've been watching my videos, you'll remember this. It was only a couple weeks ago. Anyways, that fairing has come loose. One of the two bolts that secures it in place fell out. I don't know what kind of dumbfuck mechanic did that, but it fell out. And now my fairing is occasionally rubbing up against my tire, just flopping around in the wind. It needs another bolt to secure it. I don't have one. I've looked. I haven't found one in a parking lot like I found that other one to secure my load locks. That was nice. So I will need to go to the shop, and I'm just going to happen to mention it when I'm in Arizona. That, hey, I need to go to the shop. And hopefully that'll get me the things turnable. I don't know. I want to see it. And I kind of like to go to the company store, too, although I don't think I'll have any money to buy anything. You know, one of these times I'm going to go home and actually have money when I leave. It'd be nice to have money when I get there, too, but definitely want to have money when I leave. Anyways, this video has gone over my self-imposed 15-minute limit. So let's hope let's hope YouTube lets me upload it. But as for the rest of you, I love you guys. I will talk to you soon.